sweating.
Oh, they said that.
Live in the United States, you think you're not supposed to sweat, you're in air conditioning 24/7.
Yes, ma'am. Can't stand air conditioning.
I can't either.
Me either. What is
Who, what, where?
Fihankra actually international started after Fihankra had the purification in 1994. And it's Fihankra International is an arm of Fihankra, the stool and skin of Fihankra.
So when did it get started? And who
Fihankra
are?
International?
Yeah, that's two organizations you're saying?
No, I said it's an arm of Fihankra, the stool and skin of Fihankra. There was the stool and skin was developed after we had a purification in 1994 by chiefs of Ghana and Nigeria and chief of the diaspora that was living here. And it was performed as a to atone for the misdeeds of our common ancestors in the transatlantic slave trade. Because we all know, before we were taken from here, we were all one. And so it was our common ancestors. And those ancestors participated and facilitated the Europeans and Arabs to be able to come into Africa and take some of our people out. That's a known fact.
Well, don't be shy. Talk to people.
So we had a purification to atone for our family misdeeds, the misdeeds of the family.
And after that purification, Fihankra was born out of that. There was no Fihankra before that. We didn't come here as people that came to develop Fihankra. We were living in Ghana when all of this happened. We were already, my sister, this is my sister, and we came together with her husband and her son in 1991. So sometimes people think we came and started Fihankra, but we didn't. We were living here when Fihankra was born. So after the purification, Fihankra was born. And the reason Maju is doing most of the talking because I was not here when all of this happened. So she is the only founder here, so she'll be doing quite a bit of the history.
And thank you for saying her name. I was going to ask. We went around and said names before we recorded. But if you all could say your name when you make your first comment, that way those that review this will know who's speaking.
And I just wanted to interject something. In this room here, there's a welcome center, and there are photographs there. If you have an opportunity before you leave, you can go and see some of the historical documentation.
And you can also photograph the archives.
Okay, thank you. For those of us that don't understand purification, you said a purification ceremony?
Okay, a purification ceremony is a ceremony that is done generally by authority, which is like the chiefs or someone in the community of high standard. And it's a purifying something is the washing and prayers, pour libation over something to request that the ancestors and the Creator forgive whatever the misdeed was. And so the purification was done with the stool and skin, which was to represent any sides of our tradition, our African tradition. And because we don't know exactly where we came from in this diaspora. The stool is from the western part of Ghana, and the skin is from the northern area of Ghana. In other countries, it may be in some other places, but generally in Africa, it's the stool or the skin. And so it was washed with purified water, and it was done with by a high priestess who was the Ninai Wolomon from the Ga area, because we did it at Accra. And that was performed before about 3,000 people during the time the the Nation of Islam had its first conference on the continent, which was in Africa, in Ghana.
And I just want to interject this about the stool and the skin. The stool and the skin embodies the soul of his people. Like you've heard of the golden stool among the Ashanti. That embodies, when they say the soul of the people, that is the people, that represents the people. So our stool and skin represent the diasporans. This is what they said, because you've been taken out, you were brought back, you're coming back. We recognize you as our brothers and sisters. So you were disenfranchised. We now are going to bring you back, and you have the stool and skin. So the stool and skin is like, represent the soul of the diaspora. The very sacred symbols of the diaspora.
And don't the chief sit on the stool in one area and one sit on the
Yeah.
skin and the other? That's what stool and skin means.
Yeah, because they represent the people.
And when you say stool, we're actually talking about a stool.
You've seen the stool, yeah, the African stool.
Okay, yeah.
The African
okay,
stool.
that's what you're referring
And
to.
then the skin is literally a skin from an animal.
Oh, okay.
And they dry it and they purify it and do all these things. And this skin is passed down generation after, it never is replaced. It's the same, they keep it and they keep, preserve it. And so like in the north, the skin could be what, 600-700 years old or something. And the stool, all of us know about the golden stool among the Ashanti, so that's why I'm referring to that. That stool is how old, I mean, and nobody can see it or touch it except specific people.
So the skin is very symbolic of generations of the generation of Africans or Ghanaians who were
Yes, yes.
So how does that relate to Fihankra, the stool and the skin? And when we talk Fihankra, were we talking the land or we talking the institution?
Well, we're talking about a concept, philosophical concept, because the reason it was named Fihankra is because it's a symbol from the Adinkra symbols, one of the Adinkra symbols that means the security of the house or the inclusion of the house. And we picked that because it was the most, and so we picked that because we felt it embodied what our expressions were. And that was picked in the Ancestral Stools and Skins Committee, not by Fihankra itself. And it was picked because it embodied our experience. And then the literal meaning is when leaving home, goodbyes could not be said. And that was our experience in the transatlantic slave trade. We had no opportunity to say goodbye. We were snatched away and forced to go somewhere else.
Okay, so that related to the land in what way?
The land it was given I hate to even use the term given, because no land is given to anyone in Ghana. You can only lease land in Ghana, whether you're Ghanaian or diaspora. But this land is
Right.
acquired. We were acquired the land from two families who are of the Akumu traditional area. They're from the Akumu traditional area. And so this, we acquired this land through them. But it was for Fihankra because Fihankra is the administrator of this whole thing. Fihankra is the administrator, representing the people, because obviously all the people are not here. We're not all here. So we have to have a body, a responsible body that was going to be in charge of taking care of things. Because first they wouldn't just release land and say this is for the diaspora, and then everybody just, like the Wild West, just come and plunk down here and do what you want, because they wanted some orderly transition going on. And they wanted some people to have a whole responsible, that who would be responsible. So the land is for Fihankra, and Fihankra represents the diasporans. And the Fihankra is for those who want to come back to the land, traditionally. We can't say we represent people who don't want to be involved with us. But whoever want to be in Fihankra and want to come back to the land, become part of Fihankra.
We actually acquired the land on the chieftaincy system. And I know that's a little difficult for many of our diasporans to understand because of the negative information that's out about chieftaincy. And many people think it's the chief, but it's a system that was named the chieftaincy system, but it's not talking about a specific person, it's talking about a system. And this land was acquired under the chieftaincy system. And that's the way we were able to get it.
So can you explain that system just a bit?
This chieftaincy system is made up of the head, which is in Ghana, let me just speak for Ghana, the Omahini. Then sometimes it's the Obahima, who is the queen mother. And then it's divisional chiefs, which may be the Adultahini, the Chidomhini, and ones like that. And then there are sub-chiefs up under the divisional chiefs. And then there's even sub-chiefs.
Family chiefs.
Yes, and many times, or most of the time, if you look into the history of any chieftaincy system in Ghana, it was a family that moved in an area, decided to develop, and then they took their system that they knew, and they put it in place, which is their chieftaincy system. So many of them are similar because it's a basic framework for the chieftaincy system. And then there are specifics within each system that is a bit different than another system. Even if they're all Asantis, some areas in Asantis are different. They have one or two things that's different.
Are you saying, I think I want to maybe bring some clarity, the different ethnic groups apply the chieftaincy system for the airway, they have theirs, the Gar, they have theirs, the tree, they have theirs. Even in this area here, the airways, this is Akwamu land, Akan, but the airways are here. Next to our business, the paramount chief of the airways recently passed away, so 1 year ago. But they can't have so much. The only way they can have a paramount is if the chief here says you can have a paramount. The chief of
Sometimes
Akwamu.
that's
Because
granted.
they're not on their land. They were in, on their land they could do it, but they're on another chief's land. So they have to give permission for you to have, like for us, we have to give permission to have a paramountcy here for ourselves.
Just so they have a management of this particular community.
Okay.
I wanted to understand how you said that the way that the land was acquired was through this system of chieftainship. I want to understand that relationship. What do you mean by that?
When the land was acquired, the Queen Mother and the Omahini at that time met with some of the people to point out the land that we were interested in. I was not around at that time, so she probably could tell you more about it. And
The system of acquiring land, like we say, you have to go to the, well, in this area, there's chieftaincy disputes, so they don't have a chief in place. So it was a traditional council.
At the time that you,
Even now, there's no chief in place.
so back at the time that this happened,
Yeah,
that's
there was
what we
no
want to
chief.
talk about.
Yeah, well, there was no chief,
Okay.
no Omahi.
Okay.
So we only talk about the traditional council.
Yes, ma'am.
And they were the ones that actually, that we met with in one of their homes, and they took us around to see different land. And there was some dispute even on those pieces of land. So we couldn't even go to the piece of land that we wanted to. But then when they brought us to this area, they said, no, this area is controlled right here in this community. So you could take this land without any trouble. It turned out not to be so, but still, I just think that's the way of the Ghanaians sometimes.
Yes, ma'am. And to add to her question, did you all, the group that you said, did you all go to them and ask for land, or did they come to
No,
you
they
and say, we
offered
want
us.
to give you land?
Well, see, the way we got involved with them was one of them heard about the purification and knew that we were in search of land.
they were there.
They were at the purification and knew that we were in search of land. So people had offered us land in the north, in Accra, all over the place. And we were like, north too far, Accra too crowded. And so then this man asked Nana, the deceased Nana, if he would come and see this area. And we just loved this area, but we were going, he was taking us different places. But like I said, we got to some of the land, there were disputes, family disputes on that land. So we came back to this land
Sorry, I don't do
But
bugs
that's
well.
the lizards. And they're gonna, I'm sorry, but that's just, they're gonna be around. And they seem to like to visit when the company comes.
I apologize, when they're
That's
moving
okay.
around y'all feet, that's so different. I apologize.
That's okay.
all right.
And so they asked us to come to this land. We didn't ask for, we didn't know about this place at all. They invited us, let's say, they invited us to come and get land here.
I was asking to understand, I just heard you say that it was because of that, the structure of the
Yes.
chieftainship.
Yes.
So are you saying that if it wasn't in fact that it was a chieftainship, that this relationship would not have happened, or
More
that
than
where we
likely.
would have acquired the land?
Well,
More
because,
than likely, it would not have happened. Because we know groups out of America that cannot get large tracts of land. Because they're political. And they don't want that kind of political structure coming in here like that. You know all the trouble in Africa. We are culturally based. We are more culturally based. And because we were part of the chieftaincy system, they saw us as really reconnecting, really trying to reconnect, not come in to wage war against America or something, but to really reconnect with our brothers and sisters. So they were in agreement and even helped us to feather out all the issues around chieftaincy and the things, how we should set ourselves up. They were very helpful in that. Yeah.
So how was the land acquired? Did y'all buy the land, or they?
We
and how-
paid for the land, but not the price that it would have sold for per plot. Because, again, we came in under the system, and when people, let me give you an example. I don't know if you heard of Azuma Nelson, he was a boxer. He boxed in America. Well, he's a doc. And when we came here, his people were trying to get their land. And they had to, they had a paramount chief, but they told him only if they had brought a queen mother. They had been here 200 years. From Brazil. They're from Brazil, but they're diasporans. But now they just call themselves Ga. But they're actually diasporans that were taken out during slavery. And they came back here, and they gave them land. They usually just give land. You go to the paramount chief, and he'll set aside land, and they'll even come and help you settle. But us being from America, and we wanted to do something, because this area was the really, really poor at that time. And we said, okay, this is what we could do. And so we agreed that we gave a certain amount to our paramountcy, and they then assigned this area of land to us. We had access to 30,000. We had chiefs offer us in this area 30,000 acres, but you have to pay taxes on every plot. We couldn't do that, so we took 268, 260 acres.
260 or 268?
260 acres. And because that was as much as we thought, we said if we could settle 260 acres, then we could move to the rest, but we couldn't take responsibility for 30,000 because we couldn't pay taxes on 30,000 acres.
So,
What was the,
go ahead.
what was the taxes that they were asking?
Well, I don't know, we couldn't pay any taxes on it because we didn't have the people to do it.
Right.
And we didn't have anybody funding us, the World Bank or anything wasn't giving us money. It was from our own people. And
So-
our people basically were in America.
So you said you paid for the 260 acres. How much was
Yes.
that?
I don't even remember how much it was.
well, actually, it's not a one-time payment because we actually paid taxes and paid the families every year. So it is something that happens every year. We agreed to do that. And the taxes is collected by the government, by the lands department, but shared with the families that gave us the land.
Okay, so when you pay the taxes, then they give
They
some
get a share.
to the
That's,
family.
yes, that's pretty much
Okay.
general across the
So
board.
you don't pay the family direct.
We pay a royalty.
Oh, in
Once a year.
addition to
In
that.
addition to that, we
Okay.
agreed to
Plus,
pay
we
some kind
also
of.
Okay.
agreed to do development projects
Mhm.
and philanthropist projects, which we did. We did medical clinics, free medical clinics. We did sponsorship for schools. We did brought in supplies for schools in the area. We did and we sponsored children after the first sponsorship. And so we did many things, but now the people expressed that those projects were okay, but they need, institutions, so they'd be able to come, so that's where our projects are now.
Yes, ma'am. And just let me go back for a moment. You all said you didn't remember what the initial price was for the land that you paid?
You know,
No, I
that was
don't.
like 17 years ago, 16 years ago.
Okay.
I just can't
Okay.
I
say.
don't know the price.
And I
but
wouldn't, if we had had it in advance, we could have looked it up.
Yes, ma'am. No problem. You can always get that, forward that information to us. But, okay, so with the purchase of the land or with the offering of the land from the chiefs that offered the 30,000, but you all only accepted 260. Along with that, was there some prerequisite or list that you had to, okay, we're gonna give you this 260 land for this small amount because you said it wasn't the going rate at the time. In exchange, if you do ABC, XYZ.
That's what she was just explaining, that they had said that they had to do they wanted them to do certain amounts of, philanthropy.
Philanthropy.
Philanthropic,
Right.
and development projects, and they did certain things in the process.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I understood that that's just what you all were doing. I didn't understand that as a prerequisite or something that went attached to the land.
It wasn't like that. It was a more informal kind of agreement.
Okay.
It wasn't, we sat down just like we're doing now and discussed.
Oh, okay.
And there was nothing written out in a contractual kind of agreement like that. It was, okay, this is what our needs are.
Okay.
And we said, okay, these are the things we would attempt to do on our part because we're part of the community now.
Now, right.
And so we'll try. So now we're at the point where institutions like they want a really nice school here,
Okay.
not a clinic.
Okay.
Those kind of things are where we are now. It's taken us that long to get to this point.
Okay.
So that's where we are now, so that the community can enjoy better health care closer to home. And we're saying that because if you go down further, it's a larger community down there.
Oh, okay, yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, you pass the road where all these people are. Yeah, so.
So there wasn't a time frame set on the things that you all said that you would attempt to do?
No, because we didn't know at that time. We were just an organization getting started.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You said that you don't know the amount that was paid initially, but you also said that every year you pay a fee. What is that annual fee?
We just pay it in taxes. We don't know the fee that they give the people. That's the government that does that.
What's the amount that you all give them?
Well, now, this year, our taxes, Brenda, what was that?
7,200 Ghana cedis. 7,200 Ghana cedis was the annual tax for 2011.
And out of that, they will pay the two families.
As a matter of fact, I was looking for the receipts, but I think they haven't. I have them in a different folder.
Yes,
Because when we go to Town and Country and pay them, they give you a receipt from the Town and Country. And Town and Country Planning Office with Banana there. And he breaks it down to a certain percentage goes to certain families. On the receipt even has a name that he puts on his receipt.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do they give you like the tax assessment letters that they give us in the U.S.?
No, just a receipt.
Okay, so you don't have that prior, so you don't have prior knowledge of how much you have to pay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or is it a set amount every year?
Well, it has increased over the years. It hasn't, it hasn't, because of the property values have gone up. There's a lot of development going on in Ghana now. So, and salaries have gone up, and so property values have creeped up. So my understanding is we're paying more than they were paying originally.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think the other thing to add probably too is it's an assessment as well. So each year they'll come and they'll assess what type of development we've had on the land, and they'll actually tax us based upon our own personal growth. So it's going to always be something that's going to be growing and always be something that we have to have a checks and balances system in place for.
So then as you continue to build infrastructure on the land, the planning, the school, what have the welcome center, then that's going to increase.
It'll increase the value of the property.
Yeah.
Just like if you move into an area where the property, you find more and more people going in, paying certain amounts for certain houses. As they begin to pay more for the houses, property increase. And I'd just like to agree with what they say, and me having gotten my land there in prime, they're absolutely right. Every year I have to give the family something and then pay my taxes.
So in addition to separate figures.
Yep.
Wow.
So does the system of gun.
Yes, ma'am. And see, these are things that we need to know if I'm gonna purchase land.
But for 260 acres of land, 7,200 Ghana CDs is about the equivalent of a little more than $5,000. And my taxes for my little house in Virginia was $3,000 a year.
Yes, ma'am. I was already doing that calculation.
Well, see, the reason they charge us, even what they charge us, is because they know that the development haven't gone far. They are sensitive to our development, so they don't come and just, I mean, if we had, say, 50 houses here, it may be much more, but because of the state of development here, and the way they know we've been pushing to develop, but we've only gotten so far, the government do their assessment, and then they give us, so as we move forward, the taxes, unfortunately, we move forward, so we'll have to pay more, but that is the state of what it is.
When you pay the taxes, is the taxes for the whole 260 tracts,
Yes.
or is it for the lots?
No, it's for all in one. Fihankra holds the master deed for the 260, so we have to pay as one entity, and we will always have to do that.
In other words, the individual plot owners don't pay, is what you're saying.
You do pay.
Well, they don't pay directly
No,
to,
they pay to Fihankra.
the individual plot owners pay for Fihankra, and Fihankra
Pays.
goes and pays.
Yeah.
Okay.
The land assessment fees per 100 by 100 plot is $600 a year.
Okay.
And that's broken up into, that $600 a year does not go to pay all the taxes. And that $600 is included maintenance, land maintenance, security, things of that nature.
Yes, ma'am, I'm glad you brought that out, and just let me clarify since we are in Ghana. 600 USD, not CDs, correct?
$600 US,
Okay.
because the money is being sent generally from US here, and then it's converted, and it takes the exchange rate of the day.
And so what about people that are currently here?
So if you're currently here, you pay whatever the equivalent of $600
okay.
in Ghana CDs
And that's annual?
annually.
So there's not, for instance, if there's nothing on the lot, it's the same as if you have a house on the lot. So it's 600 either way.
Yes.
So how do you come up with the fair distribution of taxes assessment then? Because you say a person could have 5 acres, he's still paying 600.
On 100 by 100. On 100 by
It's 100 by 100
Let
plot.
me chime in a little bit here
Right.
too. This particular site here, this was supposed to be like the initial project site, so that once we develop here, once we learn all the lessons and have the successes here, we can grow from here. You know, the initial concept was that here would be the township, mostly composed of houses, businesses, and some institutions. There would be plenty of green spaces, but most of the actual farming ventures and stuff like that would be off-site at farming tracts and whatnot. So there was this structure of a model community that we were trying to develop here. So the division of the 100 by 100s, that was, we allotted that amount of space per person so that there could be some type of structure amongst how much each person gets, you know, so that there would be enough land to give out to all the diasporans. So that's why it's kind of clustered down into the 100 by 100 plots, and you have to cluster them up based upon your family. Like maybe you have a plot in my name, then your wife will have a plot, you know, something like that, and you can have them side by side. So that's the concept behind the community here. Now, as far as your own personal development, you know, you may want to build a multi-million-dollar house on
Right.
your couple plots,
Right.
or you just may want to build a small, modest green home. That's up to your own liking.
But it's
You
the
don't-
same amount of tax,
Yeah, the
no
same
matter.
amount of taxes for ourselves, it's the same. And the reason why we have that $600 is so that we can have some structure amongst ourselves as a community, so that those taxes will go in and be pooled to pay the government taxes, the royalties, then the security, the land maintenance, and then in the future have more funds to do other things, go towards the institutions, go towards roads, go towards other endeavors, so that the chieftaincy structure, this system, the council and everything will have resources to aid them in their endeavors. So that's kind of some of the more in regard to that.
And so how long have you all been collecting this 600 annually, and from how many people?
We have changed that structure several times. Because we started off, it was 3,500. We were just gonna charge each individual, and we would bring all the utilities to their plot. Because we came here, this was bush. You didn't see any of this stuff. We had to put in everything, water, lights, everything. And that didn't seem to be working out. People weren't happy with that, and because people who don't live here do not understand what it takes to develop. So they were like, "That's too much money. I'd rather." So we tried to change it. We changed it a couple of times. So the 600 has only been in effect how long?
Since 2008.
Since 2008.
It was $5.75.
$5.75.
$25.
Yeah. And only since then we've only gone up 25, even though our taxes have gone up
300%.
300%.
But that's the part that, if the taxes go up, it's based on the development that you do here.
Is that the only reason why it would go up?
It's not. It's
No.
not. It's based upon our development. It's based upon the local economy, what's happening with, with everything in the environment. So it's not just us. There's other factors that go into place. The dollar rate and stuff fluctuates, so they just, they evaluate it based upon that as well. But our development does have a large factor in it. It's going to be an issue in the future when we do have a whole lot of stuff here. It could get out of control, but, that's something, that we have to keep in mind for the future.
Right, but we'll have more people taking care of it. And also, this government is pretty lenient. You can go in and negotiate. They don't, like you said, I mean, really, they would be charging us a lot more taxes on this land, but they know, they've been working with us all along. They know our history, they know we from trying to bring in more people. So they don't press us on, even though what we pay is a lot for us right now. But, they could be charging a lot more.
Also, let me interject this as well. The land assessment fee is one thing, but there's also infrastructure fee as we're building, because we have to put our own infrastructure in. I'm sure, I went to look at some land in Pram about a year ago. Someone was trying to entice me to do some business there. And when we walked through the land, there were no telephone poles, anything. So I was told that no water, so I would have to bring in something like 10 light poles and to get to the plot that they were showing me. And then I would have to bring the water line into there as well. And then I was told once I bring those power lines and the teak tree poles that you see that they connect the electricity to, people were going to come and tag on to that. You see.
It's true.
So
It's only for 24 hours.
yeah,
You own the pole for 24 hours.
I own the pole. We would own the pole for 24 hours.
That you brought in.
Yeah, because once you actually set it up and they actually wire it, you have to turn it over to the government because it's
Ours
no longer your
belong-
property.
Ours
you know.
belong to the government. We
Yeah.
paid how many thousand, about $30,000, $20,000 just for our
The transformer,
transformer.
poles,
And
power
that
grid.
came out of the money that you collected from the people,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that was
In
more
our group.
fundraising in the beginning,
That
I'd
was
probably
our
say.
big group that
Okay.
did that.
Right, and that's something
Yeah.
people don't understand. That was one of the things that attracted me to coming to Fihankra, because I felt that I would be better off working with a collective as opposed to working as an individual. So that's and since I've been here, there are people who've come here because they were having horror stories of things that had happened to them, and someone would bring them. Now they're ready. I'm angry. I'm going back to America. And an individual would bring them here and say, "Look, here's Fihankra. Maybe they can help you." You see what I'm saying? Now you put the cart was put before the horse, and now these people are very angry and upset because they've been taken advantage of, instead of coming here first and trying to work within the community here. So that was part of my experience and part of my rationale, for coming to build a Fihankra.
And she is absolutely right. I happen to be lucky, I guess, in the sense that when I bought my land in Pram, there were other people, so 13 of us got together and bought the poles. I had to pay $600 to bring the water from across the road that someone else has attached onto. So I only get a trickle of it now. And most of the time I don't even get the trickle. I've been buying water to fill up my poly tanks. The road is they don't bring in the roads or any of that. If we want that road so it's not all bumpy and everything, even the dog hates it. Yes, when we're driving down the road, he's just barking because of the bumping and the bumping. But those are all things that she's absolutely right, that we have to take care of ourselves.
And it's the same in the more affluent neighborhoods. If you go
Yes.
East Leg on, West Leg on, all the roads are like,
Yeah.
Bumpity, bumpity, bumpity.
In fact, our roads are better than most roads. But we keep laterite roads, but we try to take a little care of them.
And so, going back, again, I think I asked a question about how many people it was originally that started this.
Actually, it was two of us that actually came on the land first, my husband and myself, and then, my son was so young. We were actually the first ones to move on the land soon after Marlena came. And it was three of us, and we had put the transformer, we raised money for it. That was a fundraiser. The transformer was put in, Marlena put her own water in. We ran another water line over to the area where we are. So we've been really maintaining the property since we opened it up. And what you see clear is what has happened through the gradual years. In fact, Brenda and her son came in 2009. And before then, nobody else was living here on the land except Brandon.
Well,
I'm sorry,
Brandon was here, Mr. Shabazz.
and Mr. Shabbat. Well, he would never lived here.
But he had
He
his house.
developed, but I'm not talking about the people
Okay,
that
that lived here, right.
Brandon lived on the land, and then Brenda and Yazid came, and now it's
Well, Zinga came before.
yes, it's Zinga. I'm sorry, it's
Zinga was
came.
building here in
Yeah.
2006. when
But
I
it's
came.
been really a small amount of us that have really tried to keep things going so other people can come. Because keeping the land open is very difficult in the tropics. You are cutting the weeds. You can see the grass growing overnight, and so by the end of the week, you are doing some serious weeding.
Yes, Mother, but let me get clarification here because I guess I'm maybe getting some different information that there's been quite a number of diasporans that have come to Fihankra, bought into Fihankra, and for whatever reason have left. And so they have paid monies many years, several years in some cases, up to many years in other cases. And maybe they didn't develop out because of whatever their differences or problems they had, but they've certainly paid into it. So when I ask about a number, I think that that's more so what I'm referring to. How many do we actually have bought in to Fihankra?
Brenda could tell you how many
I can tell you how many. I can tell you from. I can speak, but I think what she's trying to say is
Yeah.
how many people who have acquired plots
Plots from the
over
beginning.
from the beginning. Not this year we've had about 20 people. I'd estimate 20 people have paid their land assessment fees, and of these 20, one is building, 2 are building, and 2 are just getting their drawings. There's another lady that will be here in January. She has her house plans, and she's looking for a contractor. Mensa just finished building.
So I'm looking for a contractor. I
She's
thought
looking for a
that,
contractor.
okay, then the website says I thought that Fihankra had to be the contractor, had to be the builder.
Yeah,
quite some time ago.
that's changed. We have,
Oh, okay.
that has changed now. A
It
person
never was that anyway.
Well-
Cooperative construction, people can get their own kind.
yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't have to be. Yeah.
Basically, let me probably say this, and I don't know if this number is exactly right, but probably throughout the whole period of time, there's probably been more or less close to 100 people who have at some point or another came on to get land and either, were recurring paying or maybe stopped paying. We get a lot of tour groups, and a lot of those people want to get their little slice. of Africa, but they don't ever have realistic goals of developing. Another one of the things that we had tried to put in the clause was that we need pioneers who are ready to come and develop now, because we need people on the ground.
Right.
So there were clauses in there that we need those people to develop the land within 3 years, so that we can have an active, population here. Because that's the other thing, that the other villages and the other communities, they're looking for economic, development here. They're looking for jobs. They're looking for work building. They're looking for so much stuff. So that's in regards to that. Now, as far as, Fihankra, we do work with Ghanaian contractors and whatnot to have some structure for people who are not interested in either building their own homes or which not route. They just want to go for a turnkey home. So there is that option. This was a model community, so we tried to have floor plans and options so people could just go with the pick and choose that we're so accustomed to, in the States. Just, I like this floor plan, build it for me, how many phases, but in actuality, the people who tend to come here first are the people who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty, who are the ones that want to build and lead the way. So for them, we have the cooperative construction, which is basically you can build it yourself, you can hire another contractor, if your brother is a contractor, whatever, you can go that route. But what we do is we try to help assist you with certain things. So there's the infrastructure, because we're in charge of the big picture, we try to help you with the lights and the water and the road access and stuff like that. So you'll come through us on that one. The actual development of your own plot, it can go any which way you like. We just have some basic standards so that you don't build anything that's going to be a nuisance to your neighbor, nothing that's going to burn down electrically or anything like that. So there's basic, very practical guidelines and stuff for that. But the biggest thing is we need people to infill all these roles. I mean, there's so many different hats and so many different positions that people could take, but unless there's somebody to sit and take that job and to carry that torch, nothing else is going to build upon. A lot of people come here and they see the bush and they're intimidated by the bush. They're scared about what's in the bush, and they're not going to, exactly. We've had people who come here and literally camped to develop their land, and that's been the attitude that you've had to have. But that's not for everybody, you know what I mean? So it's the period of how can we get out of the bush and make this place developed enough to where it entices the people who just want to come and live comfortably, and so that's why in the reality right now we need, the on-the-grounds pioneers who aren't afraid of that. And that's what we have to try to weed out now. So if we can get those people, they can pave the way for the next group of people who can just be consumers or whatnot and just have it a little bit easier. So that's the reality of those hardships. Yeah.
Well, I came in 2005 with a group of 40 people. And, people in general, our impulse, we shop on impulse.
Right.
And I was being pressured, to acquire a plot. But under the guidelines of when you would have to develop, and I was still working, I didn't see where I could develop in 3 years. So I said, well, I wasn't being pressured by Fihankra, I was being pressured by someone else, by the tour group, because the tour group individuals were it was to their advantage, you see. So, and I was not the only person that was pressured. So a number of people acquired plots, and it was a low fee offered at the time.
Okay.
But, and I know some of these people, and they're not even around anymore, you see, because what if you spent $400 or $500, to get a plot, and you can tell everybody, I got a plot in Ghana, I got land in Africa,
You did everything you needed to do.
Right.
You had that coffee table conversation.
Sure, and so these people aren't even around anymore. And
So they
even
just impulse purchase, emotion,
That's
bought
right.
on emotion,
Yes.
basically,
Yes.
that initial year, and then you never seen or heard from them again.
Majority. And like I said, some of these people I knew personally and even talked to, before my actual coming here. I did not acquire a plot at that time because, like I said, it wasn't feasible for me at the time. And then when I saw that it was something that I could do within the framework of start building in 3 years, that's when I came and acquired a plot, because I knew if I put this in place and this in place, I would be able to do it. But I worked as a planner. Everybody's not a planner. People just
Right.
impulse,
Right.
I think that if that's incorrect on the website, it might be really good to get that changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we